Hi everybody, Jo here. How are you doing? I hope you're feeling okay. Thanks so much for joining me today, and thanks so much for the new subscribers we've got. It really is such a pleasure to have you joining in here, and for your lovely comments and your feedback that you give. Honestly, it's lovely to read them. So thank you for that. And it's nice that we've got such a lovely community that when you ask questions, if I don't get a chance to answer, maybe one of our other family on here answer. And I do think that's important, because that's what we are, a lovely family on here that care for each other. So thank you. Today, I'm just popping in with a bit of an extra catch-up, really. And what it is, I have a workshop group on Facebook, and I did a little video the other day because a couple of the ladies had lost the mojo. They were just feeling a bit down, and so I made a video and just came up with this design. And I've got to be honest, it's an old technique. I've done it for years, and often I find when my mojo goes, I go back to something nice and simple, and a technique that I love, that I've done for years because I think it's comfortable. It's a bit like when you don't feel well and you get, well, I do anyway, either your pajamas on or a nice baggy jumper and some comfy shoes, comfy slippers, I mean, you know, comfy socks, and you just want to snuggle up, don't you, and feel comfortable. So that's what I do, to be honest. And anyway, the ladies enjoyed it so much and I got such good feedback. I thought, well, maybe in our little YouTube family there's somebody who's lost the mojo, and so I thought, well, if it would help you, I would just spend a little bit of time coming in with a video for you. So that's what I'm going to do. Now again, you can substitute the stamps, the stencil. You don't have to copy the design totally, but it's the idea that I want to give you. So as always, I'm going to start off with a piece of card that's 5.5 inches by 5.5. As you know, that's just the size I prefer because it goes on a 6x6 card blank. And as always, I'm going to come in with my black Sharpie. Now, you know I love to do this. It's just a way of finishing off for me, formatting and layering. And for me, I do it at the beginning just in case my pen was to slip. I'd hate to spend time doing a design and then ruin it. So I do this at the beginning. And for me, it's important to hold the card down, because I find if I'm not concentrating and I don't actually put pressure on the card, that's when my pen can whiz across. And believe you me, I've had a few times when that can happen. Now, a few of you have asked, the only reason I use a Sharpie pen is because I've got to be honest, I've got them in, they're inexpensive. I buy them when it's back to school. They often have them at really good prices. They certainly do here in the UK. But you can use, if you've got a black Posca pen, any sort of black pen. And like I say, I like to do that at the beginning. I'll just put that out of the way. And then what I'm going to do for this design, I really wanted to, as I say, I'm going back to a simple. I'm going to add some ink, and then I'm going to add some more ink tone on tone through my stencil. And for this, I have, again, 3 safe colours that I go for. And it's a blue, a yellow and a pink. And I must admit, when I first started demonstrating for Clarity Stamp, when I was demonstrating the stencils for Barbara, these are the colours I went for. And purely because for me, I find to blend, if you blend in obviously blue and yellow, you're going to get green where it overlaps. And again, with your yellow and your pink, you're going to get orange. So it gets a nice blend. And if you're new to blending, it's a nice gentle, and there's no pressure when you blend in to get an even blend. Now, as you know, for me, I put them on my mat in order that I'm going to use them. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to add some ink first to our card, just as a background. So I'm going to pick some ink up on my stencil brush. And I'm actually just going to lightly, now this is a light flick, just flick across the top of the card. Now I'm being mindful, I want to keep some white around this. I want it quite a clean and simple design. So I'm very lightly, and if it's one tip I could give you, it's that it's a light touch. And then what I'm going to do now is come in with my pink. And again, don't over ink your stencil brush. And I'm going to go to the base, And again, near the bottom, I'm going to start with that flicking and just bring that up. Now the colours are quite pale, and I want them quite pale, but it just means it probably won't show up that well for you. And then in the middle, I'm going to come in with yellow. And when I add the yellow, I'll go into the blue and into the pink. But again, I'm being mindful of just getting a little bit of colour. And if I just put that to the side, a couple of marks on there, and bring it up, as I say, it probably doesn't show very much. Sorry, excuse me, that tickly throat's come back. I don't think I'm ever going to get rid of it, do you? I think I'm going to have a deeper voice forever. So that's my colour tone, and as I say, it is quite pale, but that's fine, that's what I want. So I'll just move those to the side because we're going to do our stamping next. In fact, you know what, I'll put the lids on, just because if not, I won't have room to stamp, and then I'll stamp and I'll be out of shot and you'll be shouting at me, telling me you can't see. So as always, I've just got my copy of paper, just because I find it easier. Now I'm going to use my gorgeous mushrooms. And again, this is a nice time if you've got favourite stamps. You know, I'm not using a lot of products here, and I think it's important. I mean, sometimes obviously I do videos, as you know, where they're quite lengthy and we use lots of products, but I think it's important. I think if you've been unwell, or say you've even had a holiday, a break, and your mojo's gone, or to be fair, if you've just not got a lot of time, you know, or if you're one of our new followers and you haven't got a lot of stamps, sometimes I think if projects have far too many products in, it can put you off. Whereas this, for me, it's just a nice, simple little... Don't get me wrong, I have done a few this week. I've done a few samples. We may have new products coming out, and I may have been using lots of products. So I do like using lots of products, as you know. But I think at sometimes, especially if Mr MoJo's gone on holiday, we need to entice him back with a few products. Now, as always, I'm just going to turn my card to the side, and I'm going to stamp about there. Just for me, I find it easier to stamp this way. I have no idea why, but I do. And again, it's a silhouette stamp. It's quite dark here. There's quite a lot of ink on here, and we've already got ink on our card. So we need to just give that black ink time to actually soak in through our oxide ink onto the card. And there's no point rushing. Lift that up. That's beautiful. Now what we're going to stamp is our little Pipin. Again, Pipin's always so useful. I don't know if I told you, I actually ordered a spare Pipin because I use him so much. Obviously, as you may be able to tell. But I was so worried that if I lost him and I needed him, I wouldn't be able to make a card. So, hence, I have two. But do you know what? I never see them both at the same time. They're a bit like twins. I can only ever find one. And I know I've got two. Do any of you do that? I must admit, the holly stamp is another one like that. The little pound holly. So I'm just going to, I find the best way to do this is almost try and get your head over the top. And let's just place him there. And again, let's just give that ink time to soak in. Now, if you're new and you're not sure how to get him so he's perfectly on top of the toadstool, practice on your copy of paper. You soon get the hang of it. And he will just stamp beautifully like that. Now, if ever you did have a little gap, all I would do is get a fine liner and draw in the toadstool, make it a bit taller. Now, I'm just going to blot that. Because obviously your VersaFine Clair, remember, it's a slower drying ink. And in fact, for me, for belt and braces, I'm just going to come in with my heat tool and just give him a bit of a dry, front and back. Because when we have the stencil work, I don't want to smudge. It's really important that that ink is dry. Now the stencil we're going to use is called Glory. And what I'm going to do is just decide. Now again, stencils do have a front and back. Just, you can tell by the way the lasers cut them. And it's funny, I just spend a little bit of time. I wanted it an angle. You know every funny thing about angles. And I think, right, I think that's nice there. So I'll just check you can see. And what I'm going to do is put my inks back in the colours in the way they were. And we're just going to put tone on tone. So I'll come in with the blue. Now again, I need to be mindful. I don't want to cover the whole area. So I'm just lightly going to just do circular motions and add a little bit of stenciling here where I've got the blue ink. Now again, I can lift my stencil up because I'm holding it with this hand, look. And look, you'll be amazed how much is there. That's beautiful. I don't want to add any more. I think that's just enough. So what I'll do now is come in with my yellow and just move my hand down a little. Now because I've done my stamping, I can actually see through where my stamp is. So I won't go over Pipin, I'm just going to go round him. And I'm just lightly going to add a little bit of yellow. And let's have a look. Well, that's nice, but not enough. So again, and this is the beauty, that famous saying, you can always add it, you can't take it away. So build up at this point. Doesn't matter if we have to look 2 or 3 times and add ink. Now that's building up nicely, but for me, I think I need a little bit more over here. So I'll just get a bit more ink and just flick. Don't want to come in too dark. So as I say, just take your time. You're not in any rush. You want to enjoy this process. After all, that's what we're crafting for. And actually, when you start crafting and you start enjoying it, that's when Mr MoJo comes back. And before you know it, you'll be thinking, oh, I could do this with a different stencil. I could use a different colour. Yes, now that's better. I like that. In fact, I might just darken the blue up there. Because I've put the yellow on, I just think it's made me want to add a little bit more blue here. Let's just have a look. Oh yeah, that's nice. So at this point I would move my hand because I need to come in with the pink. This is where you get very good at just using both hands like this. So we'll just come round with the pink. And again, I'm just gently, and let's lift it up this way. Oh, I don't know if you can see that. That's lovely. It's quite orangey. Just want to flick the end of that leaf there. I like that. Just get these at the bottom. Not too heavy. And there's one there I just want to lightly get a little bit of colour on. Not a lot. I'm not re-inking. Yes. So if I lift that off and just, if I put the lids on, because I'm conscious, do you know what, if I don't put the lids on, I'm going to put my hand in them. Now if I just lift these up, look, can you see? And how beautiful this tone on tone. So this is quite orange because obviously where you've got the pink and the yellow. And so the colours do. So if you're new to your blending, it's just such a lovely way to do it and effective, I think. So what we'll do now is, for me, that it's just a bit floating, and I'm not keen on floating toadstools. I know they're magical and all that, but so I'm just going to get my fine liner pen here and just ground them a little, and we'll just add a little bit of grass. And again, don't overthink this. Just sort of add a couple of tufts and a couple of dots. There we go. And then we'll add a little bit of colour. So I'm going to come in with my chalk pastel pencils. As you know, I just adore these. And at the base, again, I'm not going to overthink it, but at the base here, it would be darker. So we'll come in with a darker brown. And then I've got a lighter brown. And I've actually got an orange. And I'm just keeping the pencils in my hand because I find that better, then I don't have to keep putting them down. Now, I'm just going to lean across you because I've got a little pot here with my stumps in, my blending stumps. You know me, I don't like to keep putting my pencils up and down. I'd rather just keep them in my hand. And just with this little blending stump, you can use a biodegradable cotton bud if you haven't got a blending stump. There we go. And that'll just make that pastel pencil permanent and help to blend it. And then we'll add some white just on Pipin, a little bit of highlight. We'll give him some shape. I always like to add shape just to his, we need his tail and a little bit of fluff on the front. And then a little bit of highlight there. And again, just gently smudge it with my finger, and that helps make it permanent anyway. Catch a little bit there. And then we'll just add a little bit of shadow. So we'll just add a general shadow line. But the shadow would come down here, wouldn't it, from the toadstool. So we'll just add that. And then this one would have its shadow sort of there. And again, we'll just smudge it. And the charcoal will go a little bit over your stencil work, but don't worry about that. These pastel pencils are absolutely beautiful for adding shade. If you're worried about shade, don't overthink it. You just want the idea of it just along there. It just helps create a bit more with the design. And then I'm thinking just for some little highlights, if I get my Signo pens here. Now I'm just going to wipe my finger, just because I've got that where I've been smudging my pastel pencils. So I'm coming in with the gold, and I'm just thinking, because I've used oranges and we've got yellow in here, so I think the gold would look nice for my highlight. If I'd have gone for blues, I'd have gone for silver. But again, we've got some lines on the toadstools or mushrooms. I'm never sure which they are, so I'll probably call them both. But I think, again, that just adds, doesn't it? And I want to stamp a sentiment. And because this is going to go to one of the ladies from my group who's just struggling at the minute, and I just think, out from the heart, she will know that I have made this and it comes from my heart. So the doorbell's just gone. I will be back. Do excuse me.
Morning. Mr. Roberts has to have this delivered to yourself.
No problem.
Can I take surname, please?
It's right, R-I-C-E.
Okay, I'll also put another food dog here.
Lovely, thank you very much.
Yes.
You take care.
And you have a good day.
And you. Thanks a lot. Bye. Right, I'm back. I'm so sorry about that. My next door neighbour's had something delivered and he's out, and he's asked if I'll take it in. And I'm afraid I'm not that good that I know how to stop this and how to restart it. So I told you, it's just like crafting at home with me, isn't it? So anyway, it gave you a break just to have a sip of your coffee, didn't it? I'm out of breath now. So as I say, I've got this lovely sentiment, art from the heart, for my friend. So I shall just stamp that. But it's a good deed taking a parcel in for a neighbour, isn't it? So I think it's important, especially these days. I think good friends, good neighbours, do you know what? So important. Now, I need to get this straight and I want to get it in the middle. So I'm just going to put that there. And also with putting the sentiment up here, for me, it gives Pipin a reason to look up. There we go. And he's looking up at that. And to me, that just finishes off the whole design. You know, when you're creating a design. And then what I'm thinking is, I've got a red gel pen here, and these are the Signo, the Uniball ones. Absolutely fabulous. And I'm thinking, I'm not keen on the black heart, so if I just go over it with the red, and again, nice and easy to do. It just finishes it off. And then lastly, what I'm going to do is I want to add some little flicks of water. And don't worry about, you've stamped in permanent ink here, so the water flicks will only go in the background here. Now I've got my fan brush in a pot of water, and I'm just going to tap it. It's a bit annoying, I know, on the side. And it's just because I want to get rid of some of those big, almost blobs. And I just want some small little blobs of water, little small flicks. Now, the reason I've done this at the end as well is if you're happy with your card and you don't like the water splats, you can leave it like that. You don't have to add the water splats. You know me, I just like them. And that's the card design finished. And for me, it's just such a lovely, lovely design. If I bring the original back in and put this over there, look, and we just use the back like we do. Just check they're both in shot. And when the water splats dry, if I lift this up, can you see the difference? So you see here, obviously you just get that faux bleaching and it just adds a little bit more in the background. But totally up to you whether you add them or not. But I've got to be honest, I'm a big fan of the tone-on-tone stenciling on the ink. And as I say, didn't take a lot to it, did it? So I hope you enjoyed that. And once again, do excuse me for leaving you on your own for a few minutes. I hope you'll forgive me. I hope you've enjoyed this. A couple of ladies have asked if I can try and do extra tutorials. So where I can, I'll keep to my Tuesdays, but where I can, I will try and pop in during the week and just have a little catch up with you. I know you appreciate it, so I'll do my best. Okay, you take care, everybody. Thank you very much. Love and hugs from me. Bye for now.